do a quick test of the old
Test. This
Michael.
is a test.
Yep, that's fine. Hey. Right, I'm recording.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Our winner is you are back in your ear holes once again to bring you another fantastic podcast episode for newbies. Think of us as your friendly neighborhood video game book club, and for everyone, my name is David. I'd updated your one here, Alex. So I've got my name is David Polar Night Smiley, and my partner in crime is Alex Shinobi Aldridge. So I think I'm staying a podcast behind, whereas you are fully modern and with it.
Okay.
Thank you, Car. Alex, how are you doing today? Are you well, other than melting as we speak?
Well,
we're on a timer until your computer stops working, right? That's the way it goes for these podcasts.
Well, no, it's this. Oh, no, that one is binned. That's long gone. The one that kept dying from the heat. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. But yes, you are right in that the hot weather today committed a violation upon my person. When I got in my car at the end of my working day, it said it was 37 degrees.
Oh, baby.
I don't like it. I've been dreading this day through all the rain that didn't really ruin my life in any way. Kind of made my life quite enjoyable, or at least tolerable. And it's finally come. Luckily, my work has air conditioning, but my house doesn't.
I feel like that's one good thing about being an IT man. You must spend a decent amount of time in places that have aircon because of computers, right?
Well, I do in terms of my office, but everywhere else in the stuffy old College of Cambridge University does not have it.
Oh, it won't be modern enough for aircon, will it?
Yeah.
It'll just be a stone building.
Yes, it's So if ever I walk out of the office, it's like walking through the gates of hell into a fiery pit of hate.
Oh, we've got a Doom game coming later.
Maybe a precursor to this. Maybe a precursor to this episode.
It might be. I'm actually feeling slightly better that you've said this, because I had written you a text earlier and then thought, no, I better save this for the podcast. And I was thinking, like, I don't think I like most of these games that we've played. Is there something wrong with me?
No, sir.
You're much better.
Luck of the draw, isn't it?
Yeah, you are much better at this than I am. Do you want to give the listeners a quick rundown? Because I always describe us as a video game book club, which I feel I need to continue to do, because most of our podcasts are that.
And they will be moving, for this next month or so, yeah.
But not this time.
Not today. Today, we are following on from the top 10 combined SNES Mega Drive games episode that we did a few episodes back, where at the end of that episode, we did a roulette and we drew out 3 SNES and 3 Mega Drive games from the Nintendo Switch Online catalog, and tasked ourselves with playing them and then coming back and having a chat about them. We are going to do that today in alphabetical order of the games we played, and then we're going to put them in a quick cheeky tier list, and then we're going to draw some more to do this again another time, because even though David has alluded to the fact that neither of us really had the best time, the draw may be better, and it's sometimes hearing us talk shit about games is half the fun of being here.
I wrote some notes about this, because I better come to this podcast at least under the illusion of some sort of semblance of preparedness. So I wrote some notes about what I was thinking about these games, and I did try and add some positivity to each one. So
each one. My word!
I tried my best. Let's see how we get on, I guess.
How you doing, man? How's it? You said it was raining today.
Yeah, it's been pretty heavy rain all day. It was extremely hot yesterday for us. Anyway, we didn't get up to 37. I think it was like 30.
No, that was just my car. Yeah. It's like 27 here.
Okay,
I think.
So we live not far from Aboyne, and Aboyne is the place that BBC News like to highlight as like it's always the coldest, it's always the hottest, because it's like right inland. So they registered 30 degrees yesterday, so it was hot yesterday. But today I think it's about 9. So yeah, it's 9 and wet. So I'm
getting 13 from my weather app, and it says the highest you're going to go in the next 2 weeks is 19 degrees. Whereas where I am, What? I think the beer on my fingers is making it not scroll properly. Yeah, I'm currently at 23 degrees, and it will be 27 tomorrow and Wednesday. At least my work is giving us free ice creams every
Hell
day.
yeah.
Between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m., we can go to the dining hall and get a free ice cream.
Damn right. So you're going to cash in on that, I hope.
Of course. But yeah, it's not going to dip to as low. It's not going to dip to the highest temperature Scotland's going to get at all in the next in that same period of time. Great, wonderful.
Yeah, there's I guess the only drawback that we have that I don't. Well, you might, and I just might not have encountered it. But we get the old midge around here.
Yeah,
it's not a pleasant experience. As long as you keep moving, it's fine. It's when you stop.
It's when you stop to breathe.
Yeah, if you're Scottish, you've just got to keep moving. When I went camping, and again it was near a Boyne-ish a couple of years back, and it was the worst midgy experience I've ever heard. Like genuinely, if you stopped moving, you couldn't breathe because they just cloud on you. Felt sorry for my dog as well. He was like absolutely covered in them, and they were just like burrowing into his skin. Poor little lad was getting stressed out, so we went and dunked him in a river. But yeah, as long as you keep moving, it's fine. But if you're trying to pack up a tent, for example, you can't really keep on the move unless you do laps.
No. Yeah,
run in a circle.
And then come back to it, do a little bit more, and then run away and come back and do it. Yeah. My dog's not having fun today. She's currently just lying, like she's dead on the floor behind me.
She's the worst color as well. She's a hairy dog that is black, so she's in trouble.
You can feel it off her. You can feel it just touching her fur. You can feel it. She got to take her for a walk today, and she got to go swimming. So I think that sorted her out for a bit. But now she's done. She is done.
She's over it.
I don't know why she's choosing to be in this room with me. It's fucking boiling.
It's the worst room in the house.
Sit downstairs on the tiled floor. What's she doing?
Yeah, that is the plight of the nerd, isn't it? When it's sunny weather, because you being nerds, we end up surrounding ourselves by electronic devices that give off heat, which you don't notice until you live in the summer. Until it gets to the summer, and then you're like, "Good God." I think I'd say this every summer as well on this podcast, or whatever version of this podcast.
It's worth reminding everybody.
Currently doing,
no electronic entertainment if you want to live.
Yeah. When I was still living at home with my parents when I was a young boy, I was obviously surrounded by my electronic devices, absolutely pumping out the heat. South-facing garden, which meant the heat was coming in through the window, and on the opposite wall was our boiler, so the wall was hot all year round. That was a horrid room to exist in.
Do you subscribe to this new? I swear this is new advice now, where it's always like, shut all your windows and blinds or curtains, if that's how you choose to live your life. Don't open any windows during the day. If the heat is if it's hotter outside than it is in your house, do not open any windows. So this room has been completely blackened all day. All the windows, everything's shut. And I feel like that's only recently been something I heard of.
Apparently,
all the previously open my windows all the time.
And they deal with that like proper heat that is like you might die if you go outside. But we've again probably too much information, but again, so we've got a south face, and so our kitchen wall basically has a window that runs the whole length of the house. So there's like a massive window, big double glass doors, and then a massive window. So it's like just glass. So yeah, we got blackout curtains that we just pull down because it gets like a greenhouse in that room.
Yeah.
And it does seem to work. I think I usually open all the windows and doors in the morning, and then when it gets like 9:30 and the sun starts coming up, I just close everything, shut it down. So you do live a bit like a mole, but it's slightly cooler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get all the fans.
It's a mole's life for me.
So now we've done the weather podcast. I mean, I feel like that's a British thing, isn't it? You've got to talk about
we're contractually obligated.
Yeah,
when
we may talk about queues at some point. That's another British thing we like to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I queued mercilessly to get home in the car. Horrendous queues on the road. We could talk about all the British stuff if you want.
Were there any good taxi driver chat that you were seeing going on while you're in your queues?
Oh, what like
small talk? I feel like it's another good Britishism. Have you been busy today?
Yeah, that's true. We've seen that there football. Hey, gonna watch the old England tonight. There's somebody shared with me a very funny Instagram page the other day where it's basically got Gareth Southgate created by AI saying things about like, oh yeah, You know, I probably should have picked Marcus Rashford, but he's been fucking shit this season. Picking the England squad's about who's the best player, not who's fed the most children. So as he's been a bit wank, I'm not bothering. So yeah, it's quite funny. It's quite funny that I might put a clip in here or something. I don't know.
Just insert the Rashford.
Indeed.
So
Indeed. But yes, I've got a cold beer. I'm ready to talk about SNES and Mega Drive.
Before we talk about that though, because I have a sneaky suspicion that these Euros have sort of reignited my interest in football because I've been absolutely glued to it. I think I texted this
far more than me. England are playing right now, and I don't care.
Yeah. I think the most fun I've had with this, well, other than watching football, of course, but it's just like a little thing every morning. Either because I've been watching the Copa America highlights as well. So like between watching the Euros and the Copa America games, I watching them and saying, "Oh, I forget that he's still playing." I think I said this.
Yeah.
So the whole Croatia team's a fun. The one that popped up when I texted you that was I was watching the Colombia highlights and James Rodriguez was playing for Colombia, and I was like, "Oh, he is still a player." I thought he was like pretty old when I stopped watching football. But
yet simultaneously, he always seems like he's a young and up and comer. Like. Because he looks so young and he burst onto the scene so prolifically in that World Cup. I still kind of almost think of him as it's got to be 27, but no, he's probably like 35.
Yeah, probably.
Say goodbye to that Croatia team, though. Not only are they out, but they're also fucking old. They'll all never be coming back.
Surely,
at least 7 or 8 of those are not going to be playing in a tournament again.
No, surely not.
Come on, Luka Modric, you're older than me, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, yes.
Red bastard.
Yes, okay. I will allow the video game chat to begin. I wonder what our spread of people like, because we talk about such random things. Like, how many people start listening to our podcast and they think, "Oh, interesting topic," and then we proceed to talk about football, weather, queues, taxi drivers for 10 minutes. So they like
pissing in a urinal, or over the wall of a cubicle, or in a drinking fountain, whatever it was I did in that episode where I went off the rails with piss. I don't think I've got anything like that to talk about.
Well, you've not been to Spurs in a while because the season's finished, I guess.
True.
Saving those.
Rest assured, the next time something really random like that happens, I will. It'll be shared with the world forever. We went to this had the half day today because we went to this like developmental child checkup thing where they ask you these like questionnaires about like how much your child has developed.
For your child, not for you.
Yeah, check that they're not in trouble. I tried to take it as maybe this will get me a nice easy Mensa membership because my kid's a genius, but they didn't actually want that. I am such a dickhead that one of the questions said, "Does your child basically talk like other children their age?" And I answered no. And then in the notes I wrote, "She is far better than all the children her age I've ever met. She is far more coherent, descriptive, and confident." Don't think that's what they're really asking.
The doctor will be doing this as like, "Oh, I'm not one of these parents again."
Oh, fucking hell! But on that same like on that same track, like they sit you in this room. You have this woman like talking to you, like asking you questions, telling you what to do for certain scenarios. But it's all very basic. But they had like this. It was like a wooden block, and it had like 4 pegs. Well, 4 areas of pegs on it. One had 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and then they had shapes like circle, triangle, whatever, square. And obviously, you just put the shapes on the correct peg. So the square had 4 holes in it, so it goes on the 4 peg. And not only did Cassie do that immediately without any issue, she then dismantled it. She was sat on a mat that had like split into 4 quarters. Each one had a different color, like a red, green, blue, yellow colors. She took all the shapes off and arranged them by their color by placing all of them on the correct part of the mat. And the woman like looked down. She was like, "Oh, you've arranged that by color. Didn't realize you were doing that." And I don't know why she didn't, because Cassie was also saying it out loud as she was doing it, just like blue, green, blue, yellow, red. I was just sitting there like, I told you.
Better
like,
than you.
Give me some money or something. What do I get for this? I did this somehow. Pay me.
Proud parent moment. But I hope you followed the proud parent moment up by shoving Cassie off the mat and then showing the doctor how well you could do it and how much better you were at doing it.
Yeah.
Because I was Same, but
Which is why I have to end this podcast early, because I've actually got to be back at the station by 9.
It's like the same. I have the fear of God put into me. I remember when my gran was getting tested for Alzheimer's, my mum came back and my mum does it because she works with people that have got Alzheimer's. But anyway, talking about the tests that they give them. So it's things like, I'm going to tell you someone's name at the start of this conversation. Then at the end of the conversation, I'll ask you for the person's name again. They'll ask you to tell the time. They'll like ask you who the prime minister is. But the one that's always stuck in my head is they asked her to spell the word world backwards, and I was like, oh god, can I do that? And so I think I've gone it through DLROW. Like I've memorized that off by heart to the point that I wonder if I ever get Alzheimer's, like that part of the test is just redundant on me because I've memorized it out of fear. So that's my input to that.
Chris H. He's going to come up in the podcast, but I'm going to ask you his name again at the end.
Oh God.
Chris H.
Okay. Oh my God. I'm having a whiskey as well, so this is dangerous. Right. SNES, Mega Drive, or Genesis, depending on what part of the world you're listening to this. Do you think Genesis...
The wrong part, if you're calling it that.
Do you think Genesis is better than Mega Drive as a name?
No.
I don't either.
No, absolutely not. It's terrible.
It's not even the Genesis...
Fucking terrible.
It's not even the Genesis console. Because it's... The Master System should be the Genesis, right?
Well, the SG-1000. They had loads before the Mega Drive.
Stupid
I don't know what it's called that for. I really don't. And I really hope they didn't want to call it that here, but then fucking Phil Collins was like, get the fuck out. I got this.
Yeah, you can almost guarantee that.
Mega Drive is so much better. It's one of the coolest console names ever.
Yeah, it's a good
Mega Drive. That is cool.
It's fully on board with you there. Especially because Nintendo were just like one step removed from calling their console grey box that plays games. Just Nintendo, just calling it their company name.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Nintendo Entertainment System is that's okay, but it's very descriptive. It's not fun.
Like, I'll give you Super Nintendo.
It's very perfunctory
because I quite like that. Nintendo Entertainment System is very dry, but I guess like it's in keeping with like when we were watching.
But don't forget, Super Nintendo is Super Nintendo Entertainment System, so they only marginally funnerized it.
Yeah, let's go with that.
By putting Super in front of the description again,
it kind of fits because I'm still to this day when we were watching Nintendo Direct, like confused by the weird whimsy they have as a company interjected with super serious business people in suits on their Directs. It confuses the life out of me.
Yeah. They will show you that they'll have that stupid guy doing his horrendous voiceovers with his. Can you punch a voice? I want to punch that man's voice on the Nintendo Direct.
please enjoy my voice. Thank you, please.
Well, he's not. Yeah, that's not the American guy. He doesn't say that. It's then the Japanese people then come back and then they're always saying stuff like that. Like, please look forward to this. It's like, yes, you've been saying that about Metroid Prime 4 for 7 years. Stop asking us to do that. But yeah, that is quite funny that they'll have all of that and it'll this sparkly nonsense, and then it just go back to a man in a suit. Yeah, who just sort of says,
finishes by clicking.
Forgive us, please. Yeah.
On to the
get out.
All right, I'm not going to derail it again. I'll let you continue.
Right, let's fucking do this
3 times now, and then just gone mad.
The first game we drew from our roulette of doom was Battletoads in Battlemaniacs, which was developed by Rare and published by Nintendo, or Trade West if you're in the States. It was released in June 1993. We got it in October 93 in the EU. Well, this apparently is like the sort of the true follow-up to the NES original.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it sort of follows that same line of like almost like a smorgasbord of different gameplay types, quite varied in its gameplay, regardless of whether any of its variations are actually fun.
So I've read reviews. 3 Battletoads games came out that year, right?
Yeah, you also had Battletoads and Double Dragon, and then there was one on the Game Boy as well, and I can't remember what it's called.
That's a crossover that I'm at least interested in, the Double Dragon.
Agreed. That might stick to the beat 'em up style
Mm-hmm.
slightly more
Yeah,
rigidly
because
than
I
this
think
one does.
that's the thing that is surprising about this game for people that maybe aren't immersed in what you don't even have to be immersed. People that aren't broadly aware about Battletoads is because it starts like a beat 'em up, and you're like, oh, it's just one of these games. It's not that at all, is it?
No. And even the more recent one that came out a couple of years ago followed that formula as well, and then again made people really unable to categorize it or even really form a sort of a definite opinion about it. It was all just like, I don't know if I like this because it's too all over the place. There's too many different
Yeah.
gameplay types in it. Are any of them any good? Are all of them good? I don't know. I know in this case, not many of them are good, but I know which one is very, very not good, and we'll get onto that.
Given that it's a sort of the true sequel in quotation marks to the first one from the NES, what do you think about that? It seems like it's an almost like for like sequel, if that makes sense. Like the levels follow almost an identical structure in the same.
Yes, some of them are
levels,
completely remade in the same way. Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. I get that that's the Battletoads thing, but I mean, like, they didn't even put it in a different order.
No.
They just redid it.
Which just means that if you find the fucking jet bike thing, the speed bike race on level 4, impossible, like a normal functioning human should, you won't get past that level on this game either, the same way you couldn't on the NES. It's just as bullshit. And that is as far as I got today. And even with the rewind function on the Switch version, I'm just not doing it. It's just too long. I'm not doing it.
That's the thing that upsets me most about it, though, because on paper, if you were to describe it, it's like we've made this game, starts off as a beat 'em up, and then it tries all these different things, and it's pretty hard. I'd be like, yeah, that's a cool idea, but it is so brutally punishing and so like it has no chill about it, that it just like takes any of the fun away from it.
Yeah,
like
it absolutely does.
And it does that thing. I think I'd written it about this game in my. Yeah, it runs into that old issue that I've kind of got on and off with Souls games, in that to actually get through the levels, you've essentially just got to memorize what's coming up next at some point.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to get through it. And you memorize it by getting a little bit further, making a mistake, and then get a little bit of like restarting, getting a little bit. And I don't find that sort of loop of restarting and rerunning the same old thing over and over again until I've memorized it particularly fun.
Me neither. And it doesn't do that in all of the scenarios either. You start off the game and the beat 'em up section, I mean, it's not a good beat 'em up, really. I found that
No, it's pretty basic, I thought.
It was very basic, very ugly. Like, I've seen reviews talk about how great this game looks and sounds. Yeah. I thought the backgrounds in this game were really bland, mostly brown, which is not nice to look at, no matter what you're doing. The music, for me, this has like the worst type of SNES music. It's like, it's that when they just try and keep the entire soundtrack to being a guitar sound. It's just like this horrible, buzzy, farty guitar noise. There's no like hooks. There's no real melodies. And this is David Wise. This is Diddy Kong Racing's David Wise.
Oh shit! Yeah, okay, I didn't know that.
So the guy's a fucking genius, but it was just like lots of like and it all sounded not like a guitar, just MIDI bollocks. I hated the presentation of this game, but yeah, the beat 'em up section. I found that like you could lose all your health and therefore life, and it would like just regenerate your health and make him flash a little bit, but it just really felt like there was no feedback from getting hit by anyone. Yes, you're morphing his arms into these big hammers and stuff.
On paper, if you were to describe that to me, I'm like, oh, that's quite cool. Like if you can pull off a specific move or string a specific combo together, his hand will turn into a hammer, or his foot will turn into a massive boot and kick people, or you'll have like a ram's head that he'll headbutt people. That's cool. But then actually doing it is boring. I think it just had no real weight to it. It was all flimsy. He's very skiddy. He runs a little bit too fast. It's very easy to just fall off the edge. Like it repeated the same tricks over and over of like a pig comes out of a door that looks like a skull, or a skeleton comes out of the floor. And that's basically it. And so and it went on. And a big problem I have with the levels in this game is they all go on far too long. They all outstay their welcome. Just goes, especially that one in the tree
where you're just. In fact, no, I don't know if you got to the one after the tree where you're on like a hockey puck trying to knock down bowling pins.
Yeah.
Just went on forever, but it's too repetitive. Like you're just kicking a pig for like 10 minutes.
That's exactly what I was going to say when you had finished your point, and that I found that everything it, like, totally agree, because everything it just does like at least 1.5 times too long. So like regular, like again, first level when you're fighting the pigs and the leotards, like there was times where I was just like getting them up, punching them up against the sort of side of the screen, and then just standing there pressing the punch button over and over again till he died, and it went on just so long because he'd get knocked down, then he'd stand up.
Because you wouldn't even let him get up. For me, he would just keep kicking him. So it's just like slowly kicking a pig to death.
It's like like we've played many sort of we've played a couple of beat 'em ups. We've played the Streets of Rage games for this podcast, and I think we're both in agreement that it's like we really enjoy that game. It's like someone's tried to take sort of that idea and just done a really boring version of it.
Yeah, and it's
for
rare.
One level. And then and it's rare.
For one level, yeah.
But the rest of the levels, I think, like, I keep talking on that one because I feel like at least that one, as boring as it is, it's competently playable. Whereas I think like the follow-up levels have got such bullshit in them. Like the second level where you're going on the platform that's sinking.
Yes.
Again,
it's like,
cool
like levitating.
Uses verticality. Switches things up so that you've got something new, and we constantly praise games that will pick things up and then drop them. I mean, we're going to be playing an Astrobot game, which is like absolute like top tier of having a gimmick and then dropping it for the next level. So like in theory that's good, but then like the end of it, where it's like flying through that bit at the end, like if it didn't have the pause and rewind function on the Switch, like fuck that, man. That is
100%, 100% is what I would have said.
I think that's one thing that I was trying to bear in mind when I was playing a lot of these games, is that I think we are insulated from a lot of the frustration that these games bring because we have that pause and rewind function. Like when you're playing these games in the 90s, you don't have that. You're just fucked.
Yeah. But that's because that's an era of, well, trying to fuck you out of beating a game in one blockbuster rental, but also you're a kid, so you don't, unless you're a kid of rich parents, you don't have as many games as you and I now have on our shelves. You have like 2, so you play them endlessly until you're done, and then you do it again.
What's funny is I played this game a lot with my cousin over the summers.
This specific game?
Yeah, in co-op, and I remember, like, I was like quietly looking forward to getting back to this because I had a lot of fun with that as a kid. Then I went back to it. I was like, oh no, I had fun with it because I was a kid and because I was playing with my cousin, not because of the game.
Yeah,
which is a real shame. But yeah, I'd just like to sort of mirror / echo everything you've said, because that just sort of like fits with my notes. I just find it utterly dull, difficult to a point that it wasn't fun. And this isn't just. I do want to. I feel like we need to really like drill home. It's not that we're just grumpy old men that are bad at games. I mean, we might be that, but it's punitive. I'd say this game is, to the point that it just sort of removes the fun. And it's a bit of a shame.
It switches itself up from a couple of the first levels where you've got health bar, and if you lose your life, it basically just respawns you on the spot. 2, you get to level 4 on the speed bike, and you make one mistake and you're dead. You lose your life instantly, and you're straight back to the beginning. And that's just not fun. There's nothing fun about that. And I'm not, as David says, we may sound like grumpy old men who are bad at games, but I don't really have the time or patience to try and get good at a bad game from 1993.
Yeah,
might therefore make this whole exercise completely arbitrary, but whatever. There's just no point banging your head against something like that, because it's not trying to make you have a good time, and isn't that what this is all supposed to be about?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to get too cynical on you, Alex, but I feel like Graham's increasingly not interested in having a good time. They just want us to keep playing and giving them money.
Yeah.
Maybe it was never about fun, Alex. Maybe that's the big secret that we've just uncovered. It was never,
as we've said, this wasn't supposed to be about having fun. It was supposed to get money out of you buying the game. Yeah. Right, let's do. We'll do it. We'll put the tier list on the Twitter afterwards. So
Yeah.
fuck it for the video. We've got a tier list as we've done for our musics in the past. S to D, obviously, as the tier lists work. We all know how they work by now. You're listening to a podcast. You're obviously savvy enough to understand the internet. So, Battletoads for me, and we'll do this as an agreement. We won't do an individual one. We'll just do it together. I would say it's not a D. It's a C for me because it does have at least variety in its design.
Yeah, like I said, I tried to be, or at least come up with something positive to say about each game, and you're right enough. It's competent in what it's trying to do. I don't think it's the developers have necessarily gone out to make a game, slipped in a pile of shit and landed on their face. They've made the game they wanted to make, I think, because they did it twice, and it's competent. I just don't think it's a fun game to play. So I think it's a. I don't think, like, to me, like a D is. We may have a D on this list. I find it frustrating. It didn't make me actively angry to play like one of the games on this list did. So yes, I think I agree with you on a C. I'm not going to quibble with that in any way.
Okay, good. Yes, there are some Ds coming up, everybody, but I don't think it's quite fair enough to put Battletoads as a D because, yeah, it has variety. Some of the sprites are all
It's going to get interesting as well because I don't want to jump the gun, but it may even be the next game actually. But there's a game coming up here that I sort of appreciate what it's trying to do.
Right.
Yeah, I'll wait until we get there because I don't want to speak in Cloak and Dagger terms because it's not interesting, is it?
It's I don't think for 1 second it's going to be the next game that we drew randomly, which is again in alphabetical order, Claymates.
Oh no, this is the one that made me actively angry to play. I viscerally hated this game.
What's funny actually is what's this magazine here? SNES N-Force magazine for the previous game Battletoads. They gave it a 68.
Battletoads.
And one guy said basically the fucking speed bike is the worst part of the game, and he hates it for that.
Now that's I don't know about England, but that would be a C, right? Or was that a B? A 75% would be an A. So it's maybe a B, a 68. Is it?
Whereas Claymates, the reviews for Claymates are wildly high.
Didn't realize this came out after the N64 Clay Fighters 63 3/4 fighter thing.
I don't think it did. I think it came out after Clay Fighter, which was the original SNES one.
Oh, so okay, that's what I got right. I knew they had brought the fighter out first, but I thought the fighter was the N64 game.
Yes, that probably came out after that. I think this was developed by Visual Concepts, who would go on to basically make every single NBA 2K and WWE 2K game, which they currently do now. So it's kind of weird where they ended up making this shit before then. But like the official Nintendo magazine in the UK gave this 80.
Fuck off.
Right? And
you want this game representing your console, do you?
Like so I don't know how they came to this number. Anyone who has read magazines from the 90s, especially the British ones, I would assume that they did a lot of this, like compartmentalizing the game into its review into like sections where they would give individual scores.
Thing.
Yeah. So they gave the presentation 74, right? And in this magazine, they've got like an up arrow if there's a pro and then a down arrow if there's a con. The up arrow says, the title screen's very nice. And that's a 74. It said basically overall, it says a really well presented platformer which has real potential, but it's let down by far too many frustrating elements. The fuck is that 80? You've said a bad thing in an 8 out of 10 synopsis.
They're giving
How have you done that?
Yeah, they need to. This is why you don't mechanize your review scores, because you end up with shit like that.
But it's let down by far too many. Let down by far too many. Not let down by one insignificant little bit, by much of it. which we will all agree with in a minute as we move on. But this came out in 1993, November 1993, in PAL regions, and April 94 in the US. The biggest issue I have with this game, and a lot of platformers in this era, is that I don't understand what the obsession with jizzing stuff all over all the levels is. I do not get the fact that they ignore that the beauty of a Mario, and to a lesser extent Sonic game, is that they keep the level design like simple, clean, free of clutter, free of confusion. They make your goal really easy to understand. You go left to right mostly. Sometimes you do have some verticality, but the direction to the end is obvious, and the challenge is in getting to the end as you move along.
Mm-hmm.
These games, they go mad with verticality and usually have some underground bit as well. They have like collectibles that mean fucking nothing. They have random paths to go, like gems and shit all over the screen. The level design is like from an ADHD-ridden child, or some dickhead who's just picked up Mario Maker for the first time and accidentally leant on the A button for 10 minutes. Like, it makes no sense why everything is so cluttered. Yeah. In this one, you'll walk up a tree as the cat, and there'll be like, to your left, there'll be some random platform and it'll go to a gem. To your right, there'll be a platform and it'll go to some purple thing that doesn't do anything. And then you drop down and you'll land in some blue thing that does nothing. Like, what is this? And there's signs that say end constantly, like every few yards.
Yeah, and
when is the end?
Fuck.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm glad you mentioned that walking up a tree. The cat animation walking up a tree made me angry, because it's exactly the same animation as he is just walking in a straight line. They just turn it on its side.
It's like in the movies where you're climbing up the side of a building. It's just they tilted the camera. Yeah.
Is this game low budget? It felt low budget to me.
Well, it wasn't
confused. It felt low budget. It felt like they had just vomited everything on a screen. The overworld was bizarre. You had to enter a level, but you could only enter the level by a specific route. And then when you did, it started sprouting out robots that you had to move to
cut some trees down.
What the fuck was that? I hated every second of playing this game. It's one of the worst games I've ever played. I hated it.
The handling is abysmal. Again, so slippery. Why? When you turn into the rat, just in case nobody knows what we're talking about here, Claymates is basically a game where you start as a blue blob, and then sometimes you'll roll into a different coloured blob and turn into an animal, I assume, made out of clay. The only animals I think I did was like there was some kind of squirrel, I was a cat, and I was a rat. The rat, if you hold down the sprint button for the rat,
my God.
it almost gave me a migraine how fast it goes.
Oh my God, yes. Why does it go so fast?
The screen couldn't keep up with itself. I don't understand that. But my biggest question about turning into the animals is, why am I doing it?
Exactly.
Other than you've had that idea.
Yeah.
Do any specific challenges exist for each animal? No. Do they help me do anything other than go to other pointless areas and find gems? No. Make a barrier to making tangible progress there, that if I'm the wrong animal, I can't progress. Yeah. Not just that I can't reach some more fucking gems. I don't care. I don't even know what they do. I don't care about the gems. Stop just putting random animal changes in the level. Make me need to do it or want to do it. What was that?
Again, there's another game in this list that takes like changing the form or the substance of the character in which you are and giving you extra powers and doing interesting things with that. Yeah. This game, it's like it had that idea and thought, right, well, if you're a cat, you can scratch things, or I don't know. But like I was like, oh, can I
on
change?
2 legs?
Yeah, I thought, like, is this a power? Can I? I picked up a rat and then picked up the cat, and I was like, oh, so can I change between the rat and the cat? No, not as far as I could tell. You are just whatever you make yourself.
Yeah.
So like,
but don't worry, you'll turn back into the blob soon enough.
Because someone will touch you.
You'll take one step, and because the level has got so much verticality, you'll just fall miles and land in a fucking Venus flytrap and be a blob again. It's that whole Bubsy thing. It's just like, everything is a leap of faith. Nothing is obvious. Like Mario, they don't make you go off the main bit in the middle of the screen. I just don't get how you could look at games on the NES and go, fuck that. we're going to make it a different way and just chuck loads of shit at it. I don't understand. This game is repugnant to look at.
Yeah.
It had the same song in every 3 of the 3 levels I played as well, and it's not a good song. Like, presentation of this is mentally bad. Like, fuck it. What did they give? They gave the graphics like 83 in that magazine. Jokes, man.
I mean, like in terms of how many graphics, I guess it's got a lot of them.
It's got all the graphics.
Yeah.
they've just split all the graphics apart, not put them together to make it look nice.
Yeah.
They just like, it's like they split all the atoms of graphics and just chuck them in a blender.
I mean, again, like, this is the one. Elevator pitch actually sounds fun. Like, we're going to give you these different animals that behave in different ways. Oh, cool. Are you going to give me something unique to do with the animals? No. We'll just give you them, and then you can run fast for a bit. I mean, that seems to be as far as it goes.
You can run too fast for a bit.
Oh,
did you like that? No.
There's somewhere on this planet Earth that rat is still running through time and space, and will eventually.
It almost broke the sound barrier. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen a rat. I didn't know rats could move like. Is that the defining feature of a rat? Be able to run faster than
pure
a fighter
speed.
Jet. Yeah.
And apparently some kind of roar that will like eviscerate anything that comes in its path.
A barking fast rat.
Yeah.
Wow. Hate
God almighty.
This game. Like, I was actually angry when I was playing this game.
It's the exact type of 90s platformer that I cannot understand why people thought were good, and when they were developing it, they thought they were doing a good job. Yeah. I don't know who misinformed them.
Do you know what's baffling though is that this game came out obviously like what is it? At least 3 of these 2 fighters in this platformer.
Yeah,
like they kept making these games. Why? Why did they get past this? Why did they end up with 3 of these? I thought it was a good idea.
At least as well with like the Clay Fighter games, as bad as they are. At least they look like clay. Yeah. This just looks like blue and red. It doesn't look like clay in any way. We'll come on to Kirby later. That game looks like someone drew it in crayon. That game looks incredible. Exactly. This has a clay in the fucking name, and not any of it looks like clay.
Nothing looks
just
like
clay. Looks like bad graphics.
I mean, like the characters aren't even clay. They're blocked. Yeah, they're like putty. I mean, this Dr. Putty is the person that gives you this power.
Yeah.
What's your name? Clayton. I think. Yeah.
Clayton.
Fuck me. Get this game out of my face.
Oh, I've already put it in D, by the way.
Yeah,
so
good.
We don't have to worry about that. Let's move swiftly on to, for me, the great disappointment of the Mega Drive back catalogue, the great nearly moment of the Mega Drive's life, especially its later life, in Comix Zone.
Yes,
which was developed.
Yes, I think I feel it. Yeah, again, you're echoing. This is like you're reading from my notes.
It was developed by Sega Technical Institute and published by Sega. Sega Technical Institute, a team that made some fucking bangers like Sonic 2 and 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. And that's actually it. It came out in August 95 in the States. We got it a month later in September. What a shame that such a visually beautiful video game with a cool idea, although I will premise, or I will what's the word, caveat that by saying that although the idea for this game is cool, when you read the description on Wikipedia and it says Sketch Turner, a starving artist and freelance rock musician, that is the most 90s character of all time. That's Poochie. That's what that is.
Starving artist and freelance rock musician.
He lives in New York City and he's working on his newest comic book. He's a comic book artist and rock musician living in New York. That is so lame.
Yeah.
Some guy in a suit thought that was what the kids were into. It's fucking lame. But being drawn into your own comic book and then having to like fight through the different panels on the page, absolutely brilliant.
Such a good idea, and the way that the character sort of moves, and I think the animations are really great.
Yeah, graphics, backgrounds, animations.
Yeah. I even love
sprites.
like little. I mean, I feel like it's a little thing, but I mean, it ultimately is. But it's such a cool thing where there are points where you draw the animator will draw in. You see a little hand come in, they'll draw in enemies. It'll appear. yeah, it's just like the actual like moment by moment to this game, like strip to strip, like moving from what do you call it, box to box is awesome. Like each box taken on its own is great. Like I even think
Multiple routes as well.
well, that's exactly what I was getting at. Like the way they build in like secret exits and things like that, so good. And yeah, I was playing this game and thinking I'm really gonna have a good time with this, and then it just abruptly stops. Unfortunately,
It does, because this game is interminably hard. And it's not necessarily like impossible.
it's not Battletoads bollocks.
No, it's just that you have one life.
Yes,
and
you're sort of prevent that. I think that's the thing that upsets me the most is that the way in which the one life, like obviously, like you say, the one life, the way in which the difficulty is staggered, it makes experiencing the game impossible almost.
Yeah.
Like I want to explore this, I want to have a look around, I want to have fun, but they've added an aspect to this game that makes it difficult to explore and poke around and enjoy.
Yeah, I couldn't find any difficulty settings that suggested I could make that any different. I believe in my entire life, all I've ever done is scrape through the first level with basically no health left, and then die straight at the start of the second level, and then have to start all over again, and don't want to. That is it. I don't understand why the enemies, even in the very first enemy you fight, why they're all so good at soaking up damage. Like they take ages to kill. And even I noticed as well later on, even stuff like punching the barrels and the doors, you lose health doing that.
They do damage doing that. I was.
They have to be destroyed to get through.
I was watching I guess like again, this is one of the things that on. This is maybe going to be David's theme of the podcast because I seem to have one for every podcast. But like, I guess the idea behind that isn't so bad, in that what I think from what they seem to be trying to do is, as you get better at the game, there are ways to get around it. So the game allows you to pick up items and things like that. So if you pick up the correct items at the right time and sort of learn the levels, you can time it so that, say you've got a bomb at the right time, you need to be punching in a thing that's going to cause you damage. So there are ways to avoid it. And I think what the game is trying to tell me, I mean, I'm pulling this from a YouTube video I watched, so don't think I'm some sort of genius. But like if you're having to punch through an environment like that's causing you damage, there's something you've missed or something you haven't done as well as can be done.
Okay.
But again, I totally agree with you, because it ultimately prevents me from enjoying what I think is actually a game that controls pretty well. I think he moves well. I think the variety of interactions that you can do, like very quickly, even like you're doing stuff like hanging from ceilings above water to stay out of the way of an enemy that can jump out of the water, just like doing quite cool variety. I don't know if you
could hold down the attack button and he would start like holding onto the back of the paper, almost like he was going to rip it. But I never actually managed to get him to rip anything. I assume that would have been later on, but I couldn't figure out.
That'll let you rip a hole.
Oh, I thought maybe his move set was a little limited, unless there's like some kind of secret Mortal Kombat style hidden button combinations that allow you to do different moves. But I felt like it could have given him a bit more of a way to fight people rather than just punch. Well, basically that's it, isn't it? It's just punching, and eventually he'll do a kick at the end or a jump, and and there's a block, obviously.
I think my overriding feeling of this game is is really disappointment, because I think there's something to this, and I think I texted you this earlier today. It's very nearly fantastic. It just whiffs it in some quite important ways, which is a shame.
Yeah, I think for 95 as well, like I feel like that's inexcusable. Like you've had 6 years of the Mega Drive at this point.
This came out
to
after
understand
the Saturn came out, right?
In Japan, yeah.
Right, yeah, okay.
I just don't understand why it needed to be that punishing. Just to give you one life for the whole game. Granted, you may
understand how that makes the game better. in any way.
How
Like
can it?
during testing, why like this makes the game better? Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know how we get to that point. I guess I'm just trying to. I can't even give. I'm trying to give the developers the benefit of the doubt, in that like there's a lot of these games, like Battletoads, for example. I think falls into the. You can see it's sort of arcade roots and the arcade mentality behind it. Like
yeah.
they're trying to kill you so that you put more money into the slot machine to get a. It's not a slot machine, into the slot to continue in the arcade. This game is old enough that home consoles are quite well established. So I would hope.
Don't forget this developer is well established, having made Sonic 2 and 3. Now, granted, that was the Japanese development teams that made those, and this was the American part of the Sega Technical Institute, but still.
I just can't work out the mentality of it, which makes it even more of a shame, because this game could be awesome. Like there is a world in which they've nailed that certain, like the certain parts of it, and I'm probably going to turn off this podcast and continue to play it, but I'm not gonna, because I can't be asked. Which is a real shame, because I think everything they've done is almost as very good. It's just the way you interact. It's just the way that you're sort of prevented from exploring and having fun makes it a bummer. And you can't even like playing that in 2024 and using the freeze and rewind feature. Like you can't even really cheese your way around that.
No,
in any way.
No, you've got, because there's sometimes as well. There's like, it's not just combat, so sometimes you can just make a wrong jump and then your game's over. You've got to restart the entire thing from scratch. Like the thing that annoys me as well is that they've brought this out in the Sega Ages collection that they did on like 360. They've now brought it out again on Switch here. At no point has anybody ever thought, like, let's just try and just stick a couple of lives in there, stick a continue or two, just at least to let people enjoy it and stop having the one thing that everybody caveats about your game just by just saying it's too hard. No one can finish this. So I don't know why they've never gone back and just tried to add that in, but
it's frustrating because like again, like I feel the need to elaborate. This is not a added difficulty set into Dark Souls argument to me. It's like,
no, this
genuinely makes your game worse. It's not like, this is not a subjective thing, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I was quite bummed out. Like I say, I'm quite bummed out about this game, because it's like nearly amazing.
I feel like with enough time invested in this, I could beat it. I could get good enough to beat it, but that would take so much trial and error that we're talking hundreds of goes at starting the game from the beginning.
Yeah, it's
just I'm just not prepared to do that.
It's not worth
pushing 40, can't be asked. It's very funny if you look at the Metacritic page for the Xbox 360 re-release, and it has a 71, by the way. And if you scroll down to find X1 Magazine UK's description for their 70 rating, it just says misunderstood. That's it. So I very much enjoyed just one word. I mean, I know their review's probably longer than that, but Metacritic decided that that's the only thing worth taking, is that it's misunderstood, apparently. Well, let's see if we put it in our tier list. Is it misunderstood? I would say this probably has to be a C again.
Yeah. This was the one that I was sort of thinking, like I would much rather, if someone said, right, you've got 20 minutes, do you want to play Battletoads or do you want to play Comix Zone? It's Comix Zone any day of the week. However, it's not a B, so it has to be a C, but it's a much better game than Battletoads. Anyway, yeah, I agree.
It also comes from that late era Mega Drive where they had the blue boxes, like the blue around the outside of the box art, which is potentially controversial of me to say, but it's probably my favorite era of Mega Drive box. I don't know why, but I just like it.
Yeah, so maybe a good shout.
It's not the purest choice. I guess they all like the black with the original Mega Drive logo, but I really like those blue ones from the sort of like 94 onwards.
Yeah.
So we have 3 to go. We're halfway through. Kirby's Dream Land 3 from HAL Laboratory and Nintendo. This was originally released in North America on the 27th of November, 1997. And it's very important to note that the N64, especially in Japan, was well over a year old at this point. Um, it came out in Japan 27th of March 1998, which is almost 2 years after the N64 came out over there. It wasn't even released in Europe at all until 2009 when we got it on the Wii Virtual Console. It's the
Oh,
fifth
really?
installment of the Kirby series.
I wonder
Yep,
why it
never
never
came out
came
in Europe.
out. People, they must have just decided that it just wouldn't sell enough.
Wikipedia claims that there was a problem with the European release, but then it says citation needed. So the Nintendo Wiki did not have that fact on there. So I'm
What's the
assuming that cannot
problem?
be corroborated. Yeah, potentially. I can't remember where I was reading this, but I saw a comment. Oh, it was probably on that video I sent you actually, where somebody was saying about how no, it was a review somewhere actually, where somebody said it's really slow in the NTSC version, and imagine how slow it would be if it was playing 50 hertz in PAL regions. It
Yeah,
would be even slower.
yeah.
Um, this is the third Dreamland game, the first one not on the Game Boy. And if this is the last first party video game released on the SNES in North America, so it's the very much the symbol of the end of the SNES's life. As a result
There's
of
one
it
thing
coming out
Nintendo are
so
very good
late,
at is sort of like legacy, like in fact, Japanese companies across the board. Because I think Sony used to be pretty good at that with like God of War 3 and
yeah,
God of War,
yeah.
One of the God of Wars anyway. Sort of supporting the console for like 6 to 12 months after the new one has come out. It's quite a nice. I enjoy that as a nice touch. Probably doesn't make them much money, unfortunately.
I enjoyed it when it mattered.
Mhm.
Nowadays, it just feels annoying when you're buying a game and it's like, it's also on PS4. You're like, come on, man,
Come on, mate.
take the fucking training wheels off.
Yeah.
Um, but I think as a result of it coming out so late and in a period where clearly the hardware, like the mastery of the hardware, was so high, this game is absolutely gorgeous. As I said earlier on, it does look like this whole thing was drawn in chalk. The backgrounds are absolutely stunning. They're bouncing around. It's so visually pleasing to look
Yeah.
at. I think the pleasing element and the word nice could be ascribed to the entirety of the game because pretty much has no challenge in it whatsoever. Or is that unfair?
No, I'd agree with that. I think again, I need to stop saying this because it's not interesting to listeners. But again, like we sort of briefly discussed this yesterday, is that like this is a game that I appreciate more from a distance than I do actually playing it. I sort of can
Mm,
see what it's doing and appreciate it. Like I think it's lovely to look at. It is a nice, relaxing time to play with. And I
yeah.
think once I had sort of spoken to you about it a little bit and sort of watched a couple of videos and got my head around what the animals and things did,
Mhm.
I began to appreciate it more. And this is one that I wouldn't say no about perhaps coming back to in my own time after this podcast and playing again to try and sort of understand a bit better. It's just one of these games that, like I said, I can see it's a good game. It's just not quite for me. And initially when I started playing it, I was just confused by it. That the cat baffled me because I couldn't figure out what he was doing that was any different to what
Mm.
I could do initially. But again, it's just because I probably hadn't poked at the game enough. It wasn't until like sort of a couple levels later I ended up with I can't remember what you'd call it, but it was like some person that just sort of sat on your head and then would like flick stuff and
Oh,
grab
yeah. That's like
things.
his girlfriend or something.
That was like, oh right, okay, so these things I'm interacting with must do different things. It
Yeah.
didn't click with me like I sort of expected, because what I was expecting is to like suck something and be able to fire it out, but that didn't seem to make a difference. Because there was one thing that was confusing me for a while, is that you would see like a witch flying around on a broomstick, and then underneath there would be blocks that would have a picture of the broomstick, and I was like, right, so I obviously need to suck up the broomstick, but
Yeah.
I still don't know how to break those blocks because they were like below me. So I knew there was like a level of intricacy to this game that I wasn't appreciating and wasn't quite getting my head around. Um, it's again, like I know I've said this to you before, but for the benefit of the listeners, I think I ended up feeling like a bit like Final Fantasy and things like that. Um, I can see it from afar and think, yeah, I can see that's a good game, and I can see why people like it. it's just not my taste, and that's kind of how
Yeah.
I feel about Kirby overall. I think so far, especially
Yes.
this game anyway.
Yeah. This feels like a game to sort of set out the stall of kind of what Kirby offers you in terms of like there's such a variety
Mhm.
of moves, and in this case combinations that you can create with
Yeah,
sucking up different powers and then matching them with the different animals. There's so many options to mix and match what you're doing in any
yeah,
level,
and I feel like
and
I
there are
need
some
someone to
videos out there.
I need to
Yeah,
someone to show me that, and I think if someone would sit down and show me that, I'd come at this game again with much more of an appreciation of it. Maybe I'm just dumb. I
yeah.
don't know, but like also, it does make me want to play more Kirby games. I will say, and
I was going to say the latter ones
yeah,
surely, they have improved
it's
from
made me
this.
want to, if I can find one for a decent price, maybe I just made me want to play that Switch Kirby game where he can use
That's really
car.
good. That is really good.
It's just
That's
like there's something like I find comically terrifying about Kirby when he just sort of eats a vending machine or something like that.
or how about when he's just like basically like the prolapsing anus of a fish's mouth, like in this game? What the fuck was that visual? Um, yeah, I found this. I got through to about World 3, like nearly to the end
Mhm,
of World 3 in this game. Um, I had a perfectly nice time with it.
mhm.
Like I say, the lack of challenge is a disappointment, but not to be not unexpected for a Kirby game because they're kind of mostly all like that. It's like I say, all about they seem to focus more on combat and taking out enemies than a platforming challenge. Really, it's all about like getting the powers that you want and then taking out all the enemies in fun ways rather than a Mario style challenge of loads of like death pits and spikes and stuff. You don't
Mhm.
really get a lot of that in these games. And he has a lot of health. And at one point, I think I was in like World 1 and I looked down, I had like 13 lives already. Like, okay, this is not done anything
Shooting
to
for a different
challenge me
vibe.
yet.
And you need to like so.
Yeah,
Can you explain the stars to me? So there
just collect. They're
bosses at
like
the end of each.
coins.
Do you need the stars for anything?
If you get 100 of them, you get an extra life, I
Right.
think.
Okay.
Or you
This
fill up
you
your,
don't
no,
you
not
don't
100.
you don't
You
need
fill up that bar and you
you
get an
don't need
extra
the
life.
stars to get like to the boss or anything like that or on to the next
No, so
world.
there is an extra level of challenge in this game where every single level has it will award you a heart at the end. So you'll have like a heart above the level icon, and you have to do a specific thing to earn that heart. It might be don't get hit by any enemies throughout the entire level, or it might be don't stand on any flowers or something random like that. I don't know how you figure out what those challenges are, but sometimes you would get to the end of the level and there'd just be a disappointed, like weird freak
Yeah, I couldn't
animal
figure out
thing.
why or what I'd done wrong.
They're disappointed because you didn't do whatever it was that level wanted you to do to
Right.
get the
Okay.
heart thing. I think I got it on one level and I don't have any idea what I did.
Can you
Um,
explain the black blob to me? Because I like
he
farted him out and he just followed me around. And I couldn't. I was like, "Go away! You're making this game worse because you're killing
Yes,
things before I get near them."
Tails the blob. He is called Gooey. Uh, so
I wonder if he's
yeah,
related to Guigi.
probably you spit him out and he just kind of does Kirby stuff behind you. However, you can get a mate to pick up the second controller and control him totally by themselves, like he's totally
That
independent.
might be
So
fun. Yeah.
he's a co-op part of it. I don't know what he. Okay, so he apparently doesn't have the capabilities of Kirby.
Okay, so you
Can't
can't take on the
combine.
powers. He's like,
He can't. He has limited copy abilities from eating enemies, and he can't combine with the animals.
hmm.
But combining with the animals is definitely the best part of this game when you then find a cool power. I had
Yeah.
what was it?
I couldn't
Rick
figure
the
out.
hamster. I had him plus the boulder icon, and when I used that together, Rick would then roll himself up into a boulder, and Kirby would run on top of it, and you could
Oh,
basically
cool.
just steamroll the
So you can
entire
sort of
level.
combine the powers in different ways.
Yeah, you combine your power that you suck up with the animal, and that will change what the
Oh, that's
animal
really
does.
cool.
Like,
Okay, this is the thing I'm missing in this game that I think
yeah,
would make it next level.
yeah, because the bird can actually sort of fly around, and if you combine it with like
So I couldn't figure out what the point in the
the
bird was because
lightning
I feel
power,
like Kirby can fly anyway.
yeah, he's just quicker, I
Right.
guess. I
Okay.
don't. Yeah, um, he was one of the quickest ways to get around. If you combine him with like the electricity power, he basically shoot. It basically becomes a shoot 'em up effectively,
Oh,
because he'll just
nice.
shoot electric bolts out, or he'll shoot fire.
I
Yeah,
saw people like shooting spikes and things like that, but I just never
yes,
worked out how I was meant to do all that.
yeah.
So that
So
makes sense.
it's combining an animal power, an animal with a one of Kirby's powers, and then just mixing and matching and just experimenting.
I
Again, not a lot of it makes, not a lot of it is forced upon you. I assume in Nintendo, unlike the Claymates developers, they will probably, or rather HAL Laboratory, they will probably give you powers that are related to an upcoming obstacle that you will probably
yeah.
find them helpful with. Like, oh look, you're underwater. Here's the fish. Or there's this area's got a lot of verticality and there's sand dropping down from the top. Use the bird. But yeah, it didn't really feel like I ever really needed them or didn't. It's just like you making your own fun effectively by just mixing and matching. It's not mandatory to do
That's
any
what I
of it.
found, yeah, because I was like, I remember I was playing this, and at some point I was like, why am I doing this? Why do I not just fly over everything? And the game
Mm-hmm.
will let you do that if you want to.
Yeah.
It's almost like, but then to make the game fun, you had to sort of go searching for the fun. I found, and I didn't have the
Yes.
tools in my mental repertoire to figure out and know how to go looking for the fun. It's basically how I sort of felt about it. But
Yeah.
it's one of these, like, I do want to reiterate, I can tell this is a good game, and I was missing the point.
It's
Fully
definitely,
accept that.
yeah, it's definitely crafted by masters.
I love the way it
Especially
looks, and I
yeah.
love it's there's
I
a
like the music.
yeah. Well,
I
I
saw
was
some reviews saying the music was shit, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it
so
was
I
really
really
jaunty and
liked
fun.
most of the music. I found the music on like World 1, Level 1 slightly jarring because it was like I was like, I know this is meant to be a chill game, and it was like bah, 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 bah. Like I just thought the music was really a bit wild, and I was like, this is not. It's like playing Kirby listening to Rammstein. I was like, I don't think this is an odd vibe we're going for
Nice.
here. But yeah, like I think once you moved on from that, it chilled the fuck out a little bit.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, because it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. It's not in keeping with it because, as I alluded to earlier, like this game is very slow. Kirby is very slow.
Mm.
Even when sprinting, he's not very fast. But it's like if you somehow sprint and jump too quickly, it's almost like the screen doesn't follow you properly.
Mm.
Like it's almost like it's asleep at the wheel, and you wake it up by getting to the screen to the side too quickly, and it's like, oh shit, sorry, you're already there. I'll move over, and then it pans like almost in a delay. It was really odd how much this tries to slow you down because it's just not expecting you to do anything quickly. But I really just wanted to move it along a little bit.
Yeah, I think for me, this game ultimately sort of slots into. I remember, was it the Wii U days? I'm trying to think about whatever it was, but Kirby's Epic Yarn is a game that just is like super easy, just a nice chill time. And if you want to relax and just sort of chill out and play a game, not think too much, and just sort of enjoy this sort of like almost sickly sweet world in which it's like letting you exist in, then
Yeah.
this is the one. It's a cool game, and I do want to sort of understand it more, and it's given me a bit of a, like I say, an interest in sort of poking around in Kirby a bit more.
Yes, there are certainly some. Well, there are many, I think,
I don't want to
better
poke around
options
in
than
Kirby.
this.
I want to poke around with Kirby
No.
games. Nobody wants
Yeah,
to poke around. He must be like he's a dangerous marshmallow, I guess is what he is.
yeah, it'll just be melted bubble gum on the bottom of your shoe, and
Yeah.
you'll put your finger in it to try and get it off, and it'll just feel a bit icky. That's what it'll be like. But yeah, like Kirby 64 is supposed to be pretty good.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The Switch one is very good. The couple of on the 3DS, like Planet Robobot and Star something or other, that's going to be good. The best one on the SNES, and I've seen a lot of people like in reviews saying the best Kirby game of all time that this can't live up to is that Kirby Superstar. I think it was called Fun Pack in Europe, but that one's on Nintendo Switch Online as
Okay.
well.
If I
That's
said
got like
Kirby, I've
6 different types.
just had a
in it.
flashback that I said Kirby's Epic Yarn. I meant Yoshi's Epic Yarn. If I said Kirby's Epic Yarn, I don't know what I said.
There was a Kirby one.
Was it?
There?
Well, it's the Yoshi's one I was meaning.
That was Yoshi's Woolly World.
Woolly World. There you go.
That's
Kirby.
it,
See,
yeah. They're
that's
both
it.
exactly
I
the
was
same.
confusing games. There we go. I knew
Yeah.
something had gone wrong in that descriptor. There was I need to fix
It's all bits of string. That's all. Don't worry about it. So for for the tier list, I would put this as a B
I was
because I
going
can
to. I
see
was
that
going to
it's a
say.
decent game.
I don't want this to sound like I'm disagreeing with you. Genuinely, I would have. If you'd asked me first, I would have said B for this. Again, great game, cool game.
Yeah,
That I'm not.
a nice game.
Yes, that I fully aware that it's a David problem, not a
Yeah,
Kirby problem.
yeah. You'd bring this game home to meet your mum, but you probably wouldn't expect much in the bedroom from it.
No.
Not sure I like that analogy, but there we go. We've done it now. Right, Shinobi 3: Return of the Ninja Master, developed and published both by Sega, released on the 23rd of July 1993 in Japan. The day later in Europe, well, hell be damned, and August in 93 in the States. Let's hear what you think about this game first, because I've got some things to say. But
this is I found, let's have a look at my notes. I found that this is a really tough game that in the way that we criticize games like Comix Zone for being tough in Battletoads but being frustrating, I found for whatever reason I found the difficulty in Shinobi quite rewarding once you sort of learned how to, like, I turned this on and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting absolutely beaten up here. I'm chucking
kunai,
ninja start things at people, but I seem to be running out of them. How do I do my sword? And then like you figure out how to sort of use your range as well as your close-up stuff and move around the world a bit. Like, and then when you start mastering the double jump and stuff like that and the downward attacks, it becomes an extremely rewarding game that makes you feel like you're a ninja, basically. I love there's something about when done right, there's like a, I don't know if I'm going to explain this right or even accurately. However, in my mind, when I think of games like Super Mario World, obviously beautiful, stunning, one of the best looking games ever made. However, like the sprites are quite small and squat. There's like a sect of mainly in my memory, whether this is accurate or not, but like Sega, Genesis, Mega Drive games that where the sprites on screen are much bigger and at least apparently much more detailed. I think this game really leads into that and is actually quite a pretty game to look at.
fantastic
Even
game,
today. I just think like the mood this game brings with it, it's difficult in the right ways. It encourages you to sort of mess around with the different things that Shinobi can do, like I say, in this sort of attacking and it takes a minute. I think, like, I turned this on and I was just getting my ass handed to me over and over again. But then at some point something sort of clicks and you're like, oh no, you get a bit of a flow state. And I'm like, no, this game is excellent. And I remember I counter sort of the end of the first world boss for the first time and I just got my ass handed to me. And I was like, I don't know. Then you work out there's a sort of block move you can do. And then when you work out that you can block, then that enemy becomes like a bit of a formality, really. And I like that there's a sort of puzzle to work out and it's feels less punishing in a way than games like Battletoads did, because I'm also aware that I'm criticizing Battletoads and stuff for being prohibitively punishing, but I'm also praising Shinobi for its difficulty. I think the difference is that working out what to do in Shinobi was fun, but it just wasn't in Battletoads.
Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling like I was having to memorize levels. I was being able to sort of react to the world around me, and it was based on my skill.
It's pretty sort of plentiful with health pickups as well.
It actually is, because that was one thing that sort of gave me alarm bells when I started, and you're like chucking your shurikens or whatever you call it around. I was like, oh, I'm going to run out of these. But no, you pick them up at a nice clip, and actually you can sort of just enjoy them without worrying too much about running out of ammo and stuff like that.
Unless you keep doing the double jump and then attacking them when he throws like 9 of them in one spinning arc, and then you fucking waste them. I did that so many times.
Did you?
I was so desperate to get good at that double jump, and I kept accidentally pressing attack in the middle of it and just throwing so many of those shuriken or whatever it is that I was wasted.
But like sort of to round out my thoughts, because I agree with you, very steep initial difficulty spike that is ultimately quite rewarding. Music's nice, fits the tone of the game. I think, like I say, like the game looks amazing. I think the controls generally are pretty good, and it's just hard in a fun way. It is quite doesn't give a lot. So like unless it's, but then it feels like in the Souls way. It's like this is what you need to do, and if you don't learn how to do it, then we're just going to continue whapping you over the head. But once you do, you feel like you sort of become a master of that thing that was previously really difficult.
Yeah, one thing that's just kind of come to me that's worth sort of reminding ourselves is that we are playing digital versions of video games from an era where you read the manual and then you know what you're doing. And we aren't reading the manuals because we don't have the manuals. So that would probably have taught you double tap the direction to do a sprint, jump in the air and do a downward kick, and you can then bounce off of different enemies. Here's how you do the double jump. Like that's probably all in the manual that we have not read. What's funny is that I agree with you that this game is challenging. I was looking through some old reviews, and that's what I was going to moan to you about before we did started this podcast. Actually, sometimes it's quite easy to find like old magazine reviews of stuff because archive.org's got a lot of them. There are quite a few scan sites out there. The website Sega Retro, I think it's .org, which is generally a very, very good website. Like if you want to learn something about a Sega game, go there instead of Wikipedia. However, for the next game we're talking about, when it had like links to here's magazine articles about Target Earth. Every single one of them I clicked on, went through the entire PDF of about 5 magazines. None of them had anything about Target Earth.
Did you? Because I was awaited.
Full of shit.
Fully agree with you as well, because I stumbled across that website as well. Because I think on the previous podcast I'd said there's something interesting about this game, but I can't remember what it is. So I went hunting to figure out what it was, and I went in the Wikipedia page, and then started off with Wikipedia as most people would, and it sort of alluded to something interesting. It was like, oh, that's it, but it's not explaining itself very well. So I ended up on that Sega website, and it was just word for word copy and pasted. So like one of the two had copy and pasted the other one. I was like, you're not explaining to me what this is. I know there's
sometimes it does, they are like the same words. That's true.
Yeah,
they should be more accurate on things like release dates, and sometimes they have extra like materials at the bottom to kind of back themselves up. But Shinobi 3, what's funny, so anyway, back to the magazine reviews I saw for Shinobi 3. What was funny is that there was a couple of magazines, I think they were both UK based ones, Mega Tech and Mega, both of them said it wasn't hard enough. Really? So yeah,
maybe there's wimps in 2024. I thought it was plenty hard enough.
In fact, there's even a thing, I'm pretty sure that even says that word in the when this was out on the Virtual Console, when Eurogamer re-reviewed it, they said so they're saying shuriken, so that's what we're going to keep calling it from now on. I swear they said something about being wimps in that, and I can't see the word. Retro Wimps. Yeah, Retro Wimps will be pleased to learn that the difficulty curve is relatively tame for a game of this genre and vintage. They generally, anything that's criticized the difficulty as being not hard enough seems to say, oh, the bosses are hard, though. But I think from what I've also read on top of that is that by design choice, this game relinquished some of the difficulty that is like abundantly prevalent in Revenge of Shinobi and exchanged it for this feeling of speed that you really, really can like attain if you once you get to grips with chucking stuff, running around, doing that diving kick, or doing like if you sprint and you press attack and he does like that sort of forward slash. You really can like fly through these levels, and it really does make you feel like a proper ninja.
Yeah, exactly what I was about to say. I think if you're trying to create a game in which you want to look and feel like a ninja, like the pace of play, I think is actually quite important. And like when you nail it, you're right. Like I feel like a slow, plodding, deliberate game doesn't lend itself to ninja stuff quite so much as a guy that's going to be leaping about, like jumping.
That's a samurai game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all of us in our head right now, if you think of like a ninja running, you can see that running style in your head. It's almost like with the hands behind the backs, just like leaning forward and just fucking going for it head on. That is what this game does. And on top of that, it like chucks in these ridiculous like chase slash auto scroller segments where you're like on a horse or surfing.
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk
It's
about
rad as fuck.
Yeah, the horse sections were fantastic.
Yeah, and
Absolutely amazing.
I love like how they use the sprite scaling to have like you can see on that horseback one, you can see like the sunset, you can see across the fields, and you can just see those arseholes in the background and like the smaller
Yeah.
sprites like all coming ready round to like ambush you. It's just so good the way they foreshadow the fights you're about to get in. Absolutely brilliant. I love how this game basically like mixes up. One level will be you are sort of like trying to almost navigate a maze. Some of them get very maze-like towards the end. I don't know how far you got in this, but there's one where it's like you have to keep trying to like blow up the platforms you're walking on to like create
Yes, yeah, because you can actually. I did it accidentally a couple of times.
Yes,
Kill
yeah.
myself.
But then there's other levels, like I say, where you're just on a surfboard and you're like jumping, attacking dudes who are coming at you on their surfboards. Or there's that one where you're basically standing on rocks that are falling down a mount, like a cliffside, and you're having to jump from rock to not die. Like you want, we talked about variation in the Battletoads games where that game, I think, mixed things up to an extent where it almost betrayed what what every single level is one by one. It just completely changed everything up. This one, it still felt noticeably like the Shinobi feel was there in every single level. None of them felt wildly out of place.
No, I will say, and this is again, this is not necessarily a criticism of the game. This is just a taste thing that I'm quite happy to admit. There's like in later levels, there's a sort of sci-fi slant to some of the level designs that I'm personally not into, but again, I can sort of appreciate that it sort of adds a bit of variety to the game. But if I'm playing a ninja game, I want running about in the trees or running about in sort of old Japanese.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sort of
You're right. It does get
architecture.
very industrial, almost out of nowhere, doesn't it? It's like you're fighting dudes with guns and fucking turrets, and then all of a sudden you're in a factory or whatever, in a warehouse.
It's maybe fun to play, but in terms of a visual aspect, it's not an art style or sort of direction that I would be particularly interested in.
Yeah, you're right. That's a very fair point. Like the outdoors levels, especially the horseback one, are just masterpieces on a visual scale. But there are some other levels that's very brown and orange.
Right. We spoke about this before, but like the Aladdin levels where you're on the magic carpet, I've got a bit of a soft spot for those types of levels. The one on the horseback is like top tier version of that. It is just awesome. And you're right, like the way they've sort of foreshadow stuff coming is a really, really smart example of game design. And
it's iconic that section.
Very much surprise isn't the word. I'm glad I managed to get over the difficulty hump, and I think again, like another small criticism of the game is I think there's it's maybe not a criticism because the game is what it is, but I think there's probably more than a few people that might be interested in Shinobi and not get past the initial difficulty curve or not be willing to put in the time to sort of get over that hump, because when you get over that hump, it's really rewarding. It's just not a gradual on-ramp. But maybe that's just modern gamers, right? Am I being too expectant of something that this just game isn't going to do? Don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't know. Because again, like this is the thing, I could sort of tie myself up in knots with this, and that like people would praise a Souls game for being hard and not bending to your will until you figure out what it wants you to do. But then we'll also criticize Battletoads for just being unbendingly difficult. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to sort of level that in my head, but for whatever reason, Shinobi falls on the right side of that makes it a fun game to play once you go over that difficulty curve.
Yeah, Battletoads is just unfair.
Yeah,
like that speed bike section basically pushes the boundaries of like human ability, because it gave me a migraine. It's so fast. Like, it didn't give me a migraine, but it made my eyes hurt. Like it's moving so fast. It's spamming obstacles in your way, and hitting one of them game overs you. That is bullshit.
Yeah.
This game doesn't do that at all. And yes, the bosses are hard, but it allows you to maintain that sense of of speed and progress a lot more fairly than most of these other games have. Especially the next game, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Let's put this one in the tier list. Now, I believe the purists think Revenge of Shinobi is better. I do not agree with that. I do not, however, think this game is an S. I would say this game is probably an A.
Yeah, I think it's probably an A. This is the problem I have with these tiers, and this is what makes them fun. Is that I start tying myself up in knots with them, like we're talking about the C tier, like Comix Zone and Battletoads. I think Comix Zone is an infinitely better game than Battletoads, but Comix Zone isn't a B. So yeah, I think Shinobi has to be an A, right? It's not an S.
Yeah,
it's not an S.
No, I mean we're obviously keeping this relevant to what we're talking about here, but I am also relating it to every other SNES and Mega Drive game I've ever played. So
Yeah,
I can
to me, the
verify that in
S-tier,
my head that I know what an S tier game from these consoles is, and I don't think
the
Shinobi
S
quite
tier
gets
has to be up there
there.
with the best games in the console, and it's not that. It's just a very, very good game. So to me, that slots it into A.
Yeah, absolutely. Shinobi 3 is rad. Yeah, play it. And play it on Switch if you can, because then you can rewind if you fuck up.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
who doesn't want to do that? Right, the last game, bloody hell, Target Earth. This is made by Messiah and published by DreamWorks, of all companies. Came out on 16th of March, 1990 as Assault Suit Lanos in Japan, and in North America in June 1990. Never came out in Europe, so lucky us. We've got to sample it now, finally, after all those years. I've always wanted to play a game that felt a little bit like Mega Man if he had been stuck in treacle and had a million enemies all over his arsehole at once. And now I've played it. I think at first I thought, like, why is this game so ugly and slow? But it is 1990. So I mean, and that is post Sonic the Hedgehog, so and Mega Man. So I don't know if I fully forgive it for that. I just think this game feels a bit disgusting to play. Like the slow jumping arc is weird, and you have to utilize that to avoid what seem to be a never-ending clusterfuck of enemies, especially as you get further on into the levels where you're the ones where you're sort of flying about in the air rather than on foot. Like the enemies just never ever stop coming, and I didn't really understand what my objective was either. So I was just constantly wasting ammo.
So, like for example, like the first level you play, your objective isn't to get to the end of the level. Really, it's to there's a sort of set the scene to people that haven't played this game. You are, I don't know, you're like a futuristic army, and you're a mech driver. And some enemy has launched a surprise attack on your home base, and your radar system picks it up. And as you sort of go into the game, there's like a thing up the top that's showing you how much closer the enemy ship is getting to your base, and your job is to basically get to the enemy ship through the aliens, through the other enemies, and destroy the enemy ship before it gets to your base. And I guess, like, when I was trying to figure out what is interesting about this game, it's that, like, the amount of weapons and customization that seems to be available.
Completely agree.
Depends on your play style and what weapons that you'll be given at the end of each level. So I think when I was trying to read about this game, they were talking about they wanted replayability to be a key component of the experience.
It's not got many levels, has it? It's like 6 or 7 stages, I think.
So they wanted you to experiment with different sort of weapon builds and things like that. And I think, granted, I didn't play enough of this game to be able to sort of explore that, because I think you've got to play a lot to be able to fully understand what the weapons do. But it seems to be that there's a lot of customization that allows you to sort of develop a play style and mess with things in different ways. It's interesting that rather than get to the end of the level, you've got to find the enemy and sort of make your last stand. That's quite a cool thing that I haven't really seen in other games. But you're right, the actual playing of the game isn't that fun. It's quite slow and plodding. You're just having enemies fired at you. You very often run out of ammo, and then you're just fucked.
Yeah, you would just like rinse through every single gun you've got. I did figure out that I think it's the LG gun, whatever that was. I just assumed large, but that felt stupid. If you stopped holding it down and then pressed the button again, it did seem to reload and have infinite ammo for that one. But pretty much everything else I found, I would totally run out of it. And as I said, the enemies were so infinite feeling. If where they are or not, I don't know, but it felt like there was
Yeah.
infinite enemies. One of them, because I think it was the third level, the one where I'm flying about in a jetpack. There is an enemy ship there, but every time I got close to it, it would completely shred me.
Yeah.
So, and then eventually the level was just like, get back in the ship. But I had no idea what it was. But you've suggested there was a radar that I may have been ignoring, so perhaps that's on me. But yeah,
Maybe.
that one I just kind of like legged it back to the left and eventually found my ship and just got in the door, and then the level ended. I thought, I achieved nothing. Like I didn't destroy their enemy ship, and I just ran away from the conflict. But you're putting me on to level 4. I don't know what I did right there, but
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
like,
Was that timed? I don't know.
the thing is, I thought was interesting about that is, especially during that era, a lot of these games are you find the enemy, you kill the enemy, you're the best. Way hey, let's hoorah, let's go. Whereas this one,
The world is saved.
you're constantly on the back foot, and I think by level 4, you've got to
Yeah.
go back to your like at the end of the first level, you've got to have basically you might sort of fend off the bulk of the attack, but you've still got to evacuate your home planet because you've essentially lost the fight in the game. I think from a story perspective, puts a lot. It's that for a game of that era, it's quite an interesting story because it's not just you're going around killing everything. You're being put on the back foot. You're obviously a sort of army under a lot of pressure that aren't winning, and you are maybe having small successes in the field, but ultimately you're losing the tide of the war. And it's about. I just think that's interesting during that era because you didn't get that very often. This was like Rambo time where there's like the one man army that would be taking out entire platoons on his own. And yeah, again, like I think ultimately I do agree with you. It's not that fun to play, but there's elements of sort of interesting things. I did read that as you progress through the game, you can sort of unlock better armor. You get these little drones that will fly around and give you a bit of backup, and they'll kill things for you, and they'll give you a bit of defense. It seems like there's a lot that you can sort of play with in terms of the designing and sort of creating a play style. It's just I don't like the game enough to want to create a play style, unfortunately.
I feel the game the fundamental gameplay loop is too restrictive for me to develop a play style because everything just felt like I don't really know what I'm doing or where I'm going. I'm doing it very slowly, and there are way more enemies than there are of my mates, and they're faster than me. I'm just going to keep running and hoping that they don't swarm me because I'm running out of ammo as well.
Which is probably the wrong thing to do, right?
Probably, yeah.
I'm trying to think of like especially in the first level, like it does change when you're flying about in the air and stuff later on, but it's weirdly straight. Like the hills and stuff are oddly like almost vector like. Am I meant to be more deliberate and sort of take my time? But you're right, the enemies don't seem to stop. So
yeah,
should I push through? Should I hang back? I don't know. There's a nugget of interest to this game.
Confusion.
Yeah, but you're just ultimately confused by it, which is a bit of a shame.
And also, it's a shame because from what I've read, like the latter stages, it gets to be like a battle above Earth in its atmosphere and then on Earth itself. So, on paper, that sounds cool, but in action, it's not going to be cool because this game's just a bit too old feeling. It's the 1990. It's quite early in the Mega Drive's life. But I still think there was no excuse when Mega Man had been around for as long as it had, and for that game to feel as fast and as fluid and as rewarding as it is challenging. This game just felt like challenging without a very obvious reward. Like I say, I finished the level without actually doing what I thought the objective was until it just told me to come back.
Yeah,
and it still progressed me anyway. So
it's a shame. I do agree with you. It's again, like I think I'm repeating myself now, but ultimately my feeling with that was just sort of. Yeah, I just thought it was a bit of a shame because like the game wasn't making me actively angry like Claymates was.
Oh no.
But I was also aware that it's probably not very good. And it's certainly not for a 2024 audience anyway. And you're right, if it's coming out after games like Mega Man, there are games out in the market that are already doing sort of what it's trying to do better and in a more fun and engaging way. And when you're at that stage, then sorry mate, it's a bit of a damp squib, unfortunately. But I don't think it's without merit.
Yeah. Hang on a second. Oh no, I was going to say something completely unfair there. So yeah, in terms of where it goes in our tier list, I don't think I could put it on the same level as Comix Zone in C. I think it has to be a D, unfortunately. I think the premise there is fine. It's good. The premise is good. I just don't think it lives up to any of it.
Yeah,
I
again,
think
this is the
it's
thing.
just not fun.
The thing I'm sort of struggling with is it's almost like a C minus. Like to me, a D feels harsh, but a C feels too good. So in that respect, is it a D because it's better than Claymates?
Well, I believe there is a way to structure. I think people, from what I've seen recently, like the Resident Evil subreddit. I mean, it's clearly we as Kelsey said on whatever podcast we were on, like we're not aware of what the next Resi game is for the first time in a very long time. People have been obsessed with doing tier lists on that Resident Evil subreddit, and everyone gets really fucking angry. But apparently, from what I've gleaned there, the order in within the tier that you put them is as your ranking within that tier. So I suggest we put Comix Zone as the number 1 in C and Target Earth as the number 1 in D. And we can all feel
I'm fine
slightly
with that.
better about that.
I also wonder if we do enough of these, it might be fun to just rank them, outright rank them.
Well, yeah, sure.
But at this stage, when we've only got 6, it's a redundant suggestion. But maybe once we get a bit more, it might be fun to just have an ongoing Google list of us ranking the games.
I think so.
Just have this like 1,200 game list by the end of
it. Yeah, by the time we're 71.
Yeah.
But until we're 71, we'll just leave you with the 6 that we've got. So just for a recap there, and we'll put this on our Twitter as well. The current tier list we have is in A tier, so nothing in S tier yet. But A tier we have Shinobi 3. What was it? Return of the Ninja Master? Is that what it's called?
Something like that.
Yes, Return. Yeah, that's the one.
Because I got initially, I mean, not confused enough that I had to query it, but when I was looking at Shinobi games on Switch, there was 2 games that appeared to be Shinobi 3, but I wondered if one was just a symbol that looked like a 3 on the box art. Because the thing that I find
might be that fucking special thing again. I don't know.
Well, there's the thing that kept throwing me is that like when I'm looking at when you're going through the Switch stuff, if there's a game box that doesn't have the game name on it, it's not immediately clear what the game is because there's no they haven't written the game name.
There's no additional text. Yeah.
And there's 2 Shinobi games that I could see on there, and one looked like Shinobi with a 3 in the background, and it may not have been a 3 because Shinobi's head was covering up the whole number. So it might not have been a 3, and then there was like another one that had Shinobi 3. And when I googled Shinobi 3, I just matched the box art up. And went with that one. There was an
well done,
chance
Nintendo.
that we did this podcast and I had played the wrong Shinobi.
That would have been very funny. And I'm like, what about the horse bit? And you have no idea what I'm talking about.
What are you on
about? Yeah, so that's it's in A. Kirby's Dream Land 3 is in the B tier. In the C tier, we've got Comix Zone and Battletoads. What was it?
Battlemaniacs.
Battlemaniacs, that's it. Battletoads and Battlemaniacs. In D tier, we have Target Earth and Claymates. All that's left to do now, of course, is to get some more randomly selected.
Yes. What are we getting?
3-3 split again?
Yeah.
I assume?
Yeah.
Right.
Let's keep doing that.
Okay. What do you want? Well, yeah, there's fewer Mega Drive than there is SNES, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. What do you want to do?
Well, we can also like when if we do more of these, we can also theme them. So we could do like racers against each other and have like a racers episode where we play.
We could do that,
yeah. RPGs episode or platformers episode. So, but yeah, for the moment, we'll stick with the 3 and 3 till we've got a few of these under our belt.
Okay, should we do SNES or Mega Drive first?
Mega Drive.
Okay, the first game we have for the Mega Drive is Space Harrier 2.
I need to write these down. Is that like a bullet hell? What is Space Harrier?
It is a into the screen shoot 'em up, effectively.
That's not the game we played in Leeds, is it? On that movable.
Yes, it is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we've played Space Harrier in an actual arcade cab where it fucking moves you about as you aim. Yes.
And I love I don't know. It was such a. When did this game come out in the 90s?
Oh, 80s.
I was going to say it's like a It feels very 90s in that like the seat is made out of that like bus carpet that is like corduroy, really thin and hard.
Yeah, this
Space
came
Harrier
out in
2.
October 98. That one. Right. SNES
I'm
game.
interested in playing that because Space Harrier 2 is a game that kept popping up during the before Giant Bomb got shit. And
Oh yeah.
they used to always love it. And I have sort of messed with it and haven't quite understood it. So this is an opportunity for me to get my head around it and appreciate what Space Harrier 2 has to offer. Is he a god? Why is he running and flying? I don't
know. It looks cool to me though. I think I mentioned it last time around the ranking of all the Mega Drive games that have been reviewed in Sega Mania. We did on that podcast at the time. I was very disappointed that in the when we ended up on 75 by the time we stopped the podcast, Space Harrier 2 was at number 55. I felt like I was the biggest champion for that game out of everybody. But there are far better ones. Shinobi 3, by the way, was number 9 out of 75.
Interesting.
Indeed.
Have we peaked too early then by having Shinobi 3 out?
Probably, but we had to have something good. Otherwise, we'd have had a well shit time.
I'd have been jumping out the window.
Yeah.
Claymates followed by Battletoads. Fuck me.
SNES. I feel like the game I've just drawn is going to be fucking terrible.
Oh, okay.
So let's have a quick look. Oh, I don't think I can do that. It's a game called Prehistoric Man, but it looks so bad.
I'm gonna have to Google this. Let me have a look.
It looks like another one of those Claymates things. I just don't think I can play that with a K.
My God.
So maybe we'll just redo that and pretend that didn't happen.
Well, if you like, it's up to you. It means it's coming down the road.
Yeah, well, true, but that road may never be treaded. Right, SNES has just come up with F-Zero.
Alex is not going to kick that out of bed.
I might. I have never truly gotten on with the SNES version of F-Zero.
I thought you were a bit of an F-Zero man.
F-Zero X, yes, but the SNES one I found to be, I don't know, eye rape. But we'll see. We will see. I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to give it a full shot.
What do you call it? Oh, come on! What's this wanky marketing term that Nintendo started to whip out when Sega started blast processing? Come on, Alex, help me here.
What, the Nintendo difference? I don't know what.
What's the Nintendo version? Like it was like Sega had blast processing, and then the Super Nintendo had
what Mode 7?
Mode 7, yeah. There's something about the Mode 7, like so. Pilot Wings has it, Mario Kart has it, and F-Zero has it. That just again migraines, if they're the topic of this podcast. Yeah, they are somewhat migraine-inducing. I think I find them hard, and I find them hard to. Yeah, they hurt my head a little bit.
Okay, the next Mega Drive game that has come up in the random selection is Earthworm Jim.
I am excited to play that and see what I think of it. I remember as a kid, I enjoyed it, found it tough, but I was a kid. I have not played that in about 20 years at least, so I think I'm interested to see how that has held up. Is it one of those games that is good in my head and bad in real life? I do not know. But I'm about to find out, I guess.
I don't think we got to it in that Sega podcast, so I can't answer where we put it in that list. But if I remember rightly, Earthworm Jim is a good game that's probably not quite as good as I thought it was when I was a kid. But I think we're not. I don't think we're going to hate that.
I think they did a re-release in that in the Xbox 360. Let me Google that.
What, of the original game?
Yes.
Maybe.
Earthworm Jim Xbox. Earthworm Jim, they did an HD re-release. I may have bought that and played it for about 10 minutes. So when I was saying I've not played this in about 20 years, I may be lying. When did that come out? Because that seems like a game I would have bought. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'll need to Google it, and maybe it's not interesting waiting for me to Google it. Is there a Wikipedia page? Earthworm Jim HD. Earthworm Jim HD is a high-definition remake of the original Earthworm Jim game. While the original was released in 1994 for the Sega Genesis and then ported to many other platforms, the remake was released digitally through XBLA on 9th of June 2010. So, 14 years since I've played this.
Wow. Okay, the next game.
Thanks, Alex.
Sorry, what we? Sorry,
no,
did I miss something there?
No, it's just a fun reaction. Wow. Wow,
sorry, I was distracted because I'd done the next game and I'd never heard of it, so I was just looking up what it is.
I still got that downloaded, but I'm going to download and play both the old version and the HD version to see how different they are, because the HD version looks pretty.
Hang on. So there was an HD version
released in 2010 on the Xbox 360.
Earthworm Jim HD. Is it actually enhanced in any way though?
Wikipedia says
actually,
remake.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm looking at it now. That does look quite nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That looks really nice.
I'm going to play both.
Well, yeah, play the one you already have first, and if you don't,
I'll play the one I already have. Yeah, but I just and I also I'd feel a bit dirty bringing on a Sega Genesis Super Nintendo chat, bringing a high definition remaster to the table.
Yeah.
This game's
especially
great.
when we're playing on
looks
Switch.
Amazing. Looks way better than any Super Nintendo game I've ever seen.
Right. Okay. So how many is that? 4? Is that 4 so far?
No, I've got Space Harrier 2, F-Zero, and Earthworm Jim.
Oh, it's only 3. Okay. Right. The next game for SNES we have is one called Psycho Dream, which is what I was looking at when I was ignoring what David was saying.
Psycho, Psycho Dream.
Yeah. So from a it looks very anime, but it looks quite interesting actually. From a review in Nintendo Life, who gave it 6 out of 10.
Nice little background box. What the fuck is this? Okay, well, right. Okay.
Yeah, one of them wears a leather bikini and wields a whip. And
yeah, that's the one I'm watching just now.
Seemingly like an S&M take on a Castlevania protagonist, apparently.
That's exactly
Nintendo
my
Life.
vibe. Yeah, and she's now walking up stairs that look identical to like a Castlevania set of staircases, and she's encountered flying enemies exactly like you wouldn't.
Yeah, it does feel like it's kind of going for that vibe. So I feel like that looks interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone from thinking this is going to be a game I'm not going to enjoy to there's a bit of Castlevania to this.
Yeah, this could be. Yes, it could be a pleasantly average time.
Exactly.
Or we could love it. Who knows?
Who knows?
Right. That's 4 down. It's time for our next.
It's good
Mega
enough
Drive
that
game.
it's been recorded on a YouTube channel called SNES Music Factory, so maybe the music will be good.
Oh yeah, maybe. The Mega Drive game we have is Strider.
That's meant to be good, right?
I find it very difficult.
Is it wider?
But,
STRY.
No, I.
I thought there was an I. This is another one that has an Xbox 360 remake, right? Or is it an Xbox
I loved
One?
that was a total reboot. That one. I really liked that game. I thought that game was so good. But yeah, Strider. A lot of people like it a lot. Nintendo Life gave it 9 out of 10 in whatever that was for. But in the Sega Mania podcast, where did we put it? 32. Below Road Rash. So yeah, Strider. I'm always willing to give Strider another go because visually, I really like what it's going for, but I've never really managed to get on with it.
Yeah, let's find out. I'm interested. That's one that I am aware of,
Yeah.
that people like, but it's not one I've ever poked at. So we shall find out.
Right. The next one we got for SNES was Earthworm Jim 2. We're not playing that. That would be stupid.
Can't double
But
Jim.
the one underneath that we've gotten is a game I have already tried out, and I found it to be really nice throwaway nonsense. And that is a game called Wild Guns. That's the second one that came up underneath it. So I think we'll pick that, because I've wanted to talk to you about Wild Guns for a while.
Let me have a quick Google of that.
It's like it's kind of like more of a static.
Is this a light gun
Not
game?
quite spacer. It kind of looks like a light gun game, yeah, but it's not a light gun game. But it's
no, when you open up pictures full blown, it's definitely. Yeah, it does look like it should almost be a light gun game, doesn't it?
Yes. You have like a targeting reticule on screen, but also you're moving your characters left to right. I really, really enjoyed this when I played it. When it first came to the Switch. There's a Wild Guns Reloaded on Steam that has very positive reviews. So
let's have a look at Wild Guns Reloaded.
£11.39. Are you having a fucking laugh?
Oh, it looks like the same game.
Yeah, basically.
And there's a Switch game that you can buy by the looks of it.
It mixes the Wild West with steampunk.
I wonder what the difference is, because if they're
you can play it online. Nice.
I wonder what the difference is if they're giving away, because you can get a Switch box version of Wild Guns Reloaded. I wonder what the difference is. Let's have a look at Wikipedia, and I'll tell you.
But yeah, this game's super fun. It's basically like a shooting gallery, but you also you're always at the front of the screen, rolling around. Everyone's in the background. You've got like a target cursor.
Interesting. It's
I think we're going to enjoy that.
Not to be confused with the PlayStation game Wild
Arms. Wild Arms. Yeah.
Wild Guns is a 1994 space western shooting gallery video game developed by Natsume for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, set in the Wild West with steampunk and sci-fi influences. The story follows Annie and her bounty hunter Clint. Oh, good old Clint. Give me some actual development. Lasted 5 months on a small budget with a team of only 3 core members and 2 support staff. The team leads had previously worked together on The Ninja Warriors 1994 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and so chose to develop for that system. Wild Guns is heavily influenced in its gameplay and artistic design by arcade games such as Blood Bros, Dynamite Duke. Have you played any of those?
Say them again.
Blood Bros and Dynamite Duke.
Nope.
I think Duke, Dunes, like that's a word as a Scottish person I feel that is difficult to say. How do you say the word Duke? D-U-K-E.
Yeah, Duke.
Duke. See, it's like, to me, it's Duke, like J-O-O-K is how I say it. And then, so how do you say sand dune?
It's like that, sand dune.
Dune.
It's like there's a J at the beginning.
Dune.
Yeah, it should be sand dune.
Have you seen the movie? Have you seen Dune 2? Like, what the fuck does that mean? I feel like
I would say Dune 2 as well.
Yeah, but then I feel like I have to say Dune 2. Like, you have to say it like a weirdo.
Yeah, you can't say J-O-N, but we do, because that's language, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Some fun.
Tell me what we're playing.
It's
big hitters this time.
Yeah, some big
hitters.
No
fucking Claymates this time around.
Thank fuck for that. Holy moly, that was an experience. Anyway, we have Space Harriers 2 on the Sega Mega Drive. We have got Earthworm Jim on the Sega Mega Drive, and we have Strider on the Sega Mega Drive. Which one of those 3 are you most excited for, Alex? Of the Mega Drive lots?
Earthworm Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm confident
Strider,
that I can say that's the best of the 3.
Yeah, okay. Super Nintendo, we've got F-Zero, we have Psycho Dream, and we have Wild Guns. F-Zero, I think I'm interested in, because I want to know if I still like that game. I liked that game when I was a kid, although you did not. So which one are you most excited for? This Wild Guns, are you all in on?
Yeah, I can't wait to play that again, because I played it for 20 minutes and was like, oh, this is rad. I did not expect that that's what this is. And now I'm looking forward to properly finishing it, or trying to anyway. Well, yeah, well, cheat. I'll rewind it and cheat.
Well,
but I'm very intrigued to play F-Zero properly and actually try and be good at it, and not just be like, oh, Mode 7 sucks, and then stop playing. or F-Zero X is better, and stop playing.
Thank you for that, Alex. I very much enjoyed dipping into
great
some
fun.
old games, and it was good fun. Sort of leans into our brief magazine past. So it was nice to mess around with that sort of stuff. Next up, however, we have a video game called Animal Well. Animal Well, got that right. I've been we've been talking about Animal Well for a while. In my head, I keep getting it mixed up with Downwell for some reason.
Yes, I did at first as well, thinking, why is Donkey bringing this back out?
Yeah,
Well, he exists.
Partly because it's a new game that neither of us have played, so this is a good excuse to play it. Also, it's meant to be very, very good. So,
indeed, so
looking forward.
Bit of a hangover from Metroidvania, but yeah, should be very, very unique. This could be, we could have our minds blown, or we could be underwhelmed. I think there's one of the two options.
Exactly. I was hearing someone got to the final boss, and apparently the last boss, I don't know what they mean by boss, or sort of the last sequence in the game is rough. But we will see. We'll see how we get on.
Indeed,
we'll make our own decisions.
We will.
Which I suppose brings us to the end of another Winners You podcast. If you liked what you heard, and even if you didn't, why not give our numbers a bump by subscribing to our podcast on your podcast feed of choice, or if you prefer to consume your podcast in a visual format, why not head on over to YouTube and search for our Winners You podcast, where you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If the podcast isn't enough for you, you can also follow us on our website, formerly known as Twitter. Our website, we own it now, at Winner Is You Pod, and you can send us an email, to tell us how wrong we are about our opinions over to winnersyoupod@gmail.com. Alex and I also have not Twitter, at David Smiley1, but which has also now become Super Smiley25, so ignore that. And at Super Thrillix, and we have TikTok, so heading over to TikTok and search for Winners You Pod. That works. Alex, any housekeeping?
Trying to think when this is going to come out. No, probably not, because this is too far in the future.
It's in the future.
One more game to go, and Summer of Resi begins, everybody.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Have we said what we're playing for Summer of Resi?
I think so, yes. Resident Evil 1, 2002. Resident Evil 2, 1998. And Resident Evil 3, 2020.
So the 2002 is the remake, right? Is that the GameCube one? Or is that which one is that?
That's the GameCube one, yeah.
Okay.
But we'll be playing it on on PC, because I've figured out how to use all those mods to make it all beautiful in 4K.
Yes, which made
it looks great.
We've done that before. What game did we do that before on that made a game look absolutely amazing?
Oh, that was Dino Crisis. No, and Resi 3.
Resi 3 is the one I had in my head, which looked amazing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on that bombshell, I've been David. He has been Alex, and we have been a Winners You, and I am out.
Keep gaming.
Please have fun. Please enjoy.
Please look forward to our next podcast.
Please. Thank you. Sorry.
Forgive us, please.